Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me for another story time. Today's story, very excited for, is a book called Pooper Snooper. I'll show you the cover to give you a hint. So a while ago, I was at an environmental education conference and I learned all about these special kinds of dogs called conservation dogs. And there's a lot of different types of conservation dogs, but essentially these dogs use their super good noses and their super good sense of smell to help conservationists with certain projects. So for example, the dog that I met, her name was Tilly, and she could smell out different invasive species of plants. So plants like garlic mustard that we're working really hard to get rid of, that are growing where they shouldn't be growing and are hurting the habitat around them. This dog was able to smell them out before they even flowered or went to seed. So then we can find out where they are and help eradicate them or get rid of them before they become a bigger problem. Tilly also could smell out, I can't remember the exact type, but a type of salamander. So they did this whole habitat restoration project for wetlands, hoping that it would increase salamander populations. But if you've ever looked for a salamander, they're pretty hard to find. They're very good at hiding. So they weren't sure if all this work that they were doing was helping the salamanders or not. So they trained Tilly to be able to sniff out these salamanders so that they could get a better count of their populations. So there are ways that dogs with their super duper noses can help us make sure that we're protecting our environment. So we're going to learn all about it today in Pooper Snooper. This was written by Jennifer Keats Curtis and Julianne Ubigwa and illustrated by Phyllis Saroff. Pooper Snooper. All right, here's Samson. "Find it," shouts Julie. Samson is ready. The big black lab mix prances through dust, sand, scrubby brush, and cactus. What do you think Samson's looking for? Ooh. You can tell Samson, this is a picture, even though we can't see it, right, of a scent trail. So Samson smells something. With his tail wagging madly and leash trailing to one side, Samson sniffs the air. He darts right and then dashes left. He busts through a patch of low shrubs and over straggly vines before slowing. He woofs once, woof, and then plops down and stays still. Do you think Samson found what he was looking for? Julie rushes over and stabs a tiny, practically microscopic half grain of black rice with a toothpick before putting it in a plastic bag. What do you think Julie is picking up? A tiny little poop or a scat? Good boy, Julie praises and rewards her mutt by tossing him his most favorite thing in the world, a red ball. Of course, that speck of rice isn't actually rice. It's poop. Pacific pocket mouse poop. Ooh. So the poop from this little critter. It's a really big deal that Samson has discovered it. Not long ago, Pacific pocket mice were believed to be extinct. Rediscovered in 1993, they were placed on the endangered animal list a year later. The only place in the world these mini mice can be found is in California, and scientists want to learn more about them. So we can see this little mouse's scat or poop, and the author is showing us the smell coming off of it, right? And that's what Samson can track and find. But first, before the scientists can learn about them, they have to find them. And they called it a Minnie Mouse. Do you think it would be hard if you're a person to find a Minnie Mouse? I bet it would be. Samson is part of a wildlife detective team. He and a few other dogs have been trained as super pooper snoopers. These poop-sniffing pups help scientists track endangered animals. So cool! If the dogs locate the poop, called scat, scientists don't need to lure and trap these animals. They can learn much of what they need to know by investigating the scat. It's a great way to learn about wildlife with much less stress and bother to the animals. It's a very cute detective team, if I do say so myself. It's not easy to be a pooper snooper. These are not tracking dogs, nose to the ground, following the scent. Pooper snoopers sniff the air to locate the scent in one place. It takes the right kind of dog with the right personality. One of Samson's puppy pals flunked out of school. He couldn't ignore the quails and bunnies long enough to complete the training. I think my dog would flunk out of school too. The dog detectives also work long hours, sometimes in difficult conditions. In the case of the pocket mice, not only are their scat super small, about 1/3 the size of any eyelash. Wow, that is super small. Their habitat is sandy. Sand easily blows through the air and over the scat when disturbed. Samson must be extra cautious not to step in the poop, blow it away with his breath, or get it stuck on the end of his very wet nose. Like most pooper snoopers, Samson was once a shelter dog, too hyper and ball crazy for families. Yet that energy and ball drive is exactly what makes him such a good dog detective. He is trained on many species, from salamanders to bears, but his goal is always the same. Find the scat and get the ball. So his reward for sniffing, out these scats is that he gets his favorite toy to play with. Before scientists figured out how to use poop finding pups to find pocket mouse scat, teams of experts shifted sand with tweezers, looking for nearly microscopic scat without much luck. Then along came Samson. Julie trained him to find Pacific pocket mice poop, among the poop of 6 other kinds of similar mice. His findings have helped scientists discover that these mice have not disappeared. They're just very good at hiding. Pacific pocket mice are one of 18 kinds of these petite, that means very small, pocket mouse. It's one of the smallest and the most endangered species in the U.S. The mouse, which could easily fit into your hand, only weighs as much as a coin. Wow. Their pockets are cheek pouches that the mice fill with seeds while hunting for food. Despite their wee size, pocket mice are important to the environment. They are considered a keystone species. So that means a really important species that plays a very important role in its habitat. So it has a job to do and it does it really well, and a lot of other things depend on that animal doing its job. They're considered a keystone species because they can change the ecosystem where they live by breaking up the earth and scattering seeds as they burrow. If there were no more pocket mice, the coastal California landscape might look much different than it does today. Samson's training to find pocket mouse scat began with Julie hiding sample scat in small jars. With lots of praise and red ball rewards, Samson quickly learned to locate the jars of poop under wood lattice and screens. So she put the poop in a jar, hid the jar, and then Samson had to find it. After a few days, Samson sniffed and alerted by sitting at the exact location of a single itty-bitty poop under the screen window without disturbing it. His reward is always the same. He can hardly wait for Julie to pull the red ball from under her arm and to throw it for him. Maybe some of you have a dog at home that has a super favorite toy and they just get so excited when you get it out. To teach Samson how to find pocket mice poop in the field, she buried baby food jars containing scat in a small area and then asked Samson to find them. Over a few days, the search area became broader until Samson was searching for scat where scientists knew the pocket mouse lived. He found pocket mouse poop on his first day. Good job, Samson. Samson might be quite the scientific success, but he's also a sweet pup. At the end of a long scat-sniffing day, Julie pets and brushes him, checking for ticks and cactus spines he picked up in the field. She lovingly feeds Samson and then rewards him with what else? His red ball. So in the back of the book here, there's a little activity, which we'll skip over, but there is more information on the dog's nose that I think is very interesting. So it says, a dog's sense of smell is much better than ours. Dogs even know they're humans by smell. My dog is currently talking to our neighbor dog. Did you know that dogs can talk to each other through their pee and smells? Dogs mark their territories with pee, as if saying, hey, I've been here. Because dogs have such an incredible sense of smell, they're often trained to help us find things, just like the Pacific pocket mouse poop in this story. Some dogs can help police officers find drugs or warn soldiers of bombs. Other dogs might even use their sensitive noses to alert to a human's health issues. Not only is Phyllis Saroff the illustrator of Pooper Snooper, but she is also a certified dog trainer. Like Julie and the conservation canine handlers, Phyllis understands the importance of helping dogs enjoy training as games or puzzles to be solved. And she says even old dogs can learn new tricks. Try playing a nose game with your dog, like Phyllis does with her pup, Spud. First, make sure your dog knows he needs to pay attention to you by rewarding him for looking up at you. Drop a treat on the ground in front of him. Your dog will eat it and look up at you. When your dog looks up at you, throw the treat off to the side. He will run to find it and come back so that you can throw another one in the opposite direction. Make sure you always have a treat ready to reward him. Let your dog use his wonderful, powerful sense of smell by tossing kibble, dog food, into the yard like she does for Spud. A dog uses a lot of energy when he searches with his nose. Spud searches in the grass for each tiny piece. He finds each one using only his nose. It takes him about 20 minutes to eat breakfast. He comes inside and flops into his bed to relax until it's time for their morning walk. Some people tell me their dog doesn't have a good sense of smell because they can't find the kibble in the grass. This is not true. All dogs are born with the ability to search with their noses. Given a chance to practice, they can learn nose games very quickly. So maybe you want to play some of those games with your dog. And that's the end of our story. So maybe some of you are going to grow up and want to work with dogs that could help scientists and conservationists all over the world learn more about nature and the animals that live there, maybe even the plants too. That's our story time for today. I hope you enjoyed that story as much as I do. Maybe you want to learn about conservation dogs in your area and see what they're working on. And I'll see you again soon for another story time. Bye-bye.